Ultra Beast Gohan. The Festival 2024 Ultra, everybody's expecting this unit to completely shatter and break the game. So there's the natural assumption the unit is top 1. This unit here is really devastating, high firepower. That special beam cannon can crush you with ease. But we do have to have the discussion. Is Beast Gohan actually number 1? Okay! My name's Zakashi, guys, and in this video here, we're gonna be having the discussion. Who's the best unit in the game? I'm looking to do a meta tier list this time, but I feel like the top ranks is what people care about most. And not just the highest ranks in PvP, but who's actually the best in the game. We're gonna be discussing 3 units specifically, mainly the new Ultra Beast Gohan, but we will also discuss the likes of Ultra Margin Vegeta and the headliner of the festival, Transforming Vegito Blue. I think these 3 units are easily in the conversation to be the best in the game. Maybe 1 or 2 more than the others, but that's what we're here to explain. So let's get into this. So I feel a lot of people don't actually understand how Beast Gohan's kit works, so I'm just gonna explain a few things regarding his kit. If you understand, feel free to skip this segment. I'd prefer if you didn't, but I won't be going through the whole thing. I'll just be specifying some few elements that you must know. On entry, every single time he gets type neutral to damage sustained, so he will not be taking a lot of damage. If you're worried that a red is going to slice him when he enters the battlefield, he'll be type neutral defensively for 10 time accounts, so you won't have to worry about taking major damage. Also, every time he enters the battlefield, once he presses that first strike card or a blast card, he's gonna get cover nullification for 10 time accounts, which is obviously really good so that you can actually complete your combos. But if you do manage to take a lot of damage when you enter the battlefield with him, once he gets to 50% or below, he's gonna restore 40% of his health and also break the enemy's combo by reducing their ki, destroying their cards, and just in case they have any counters, Beast is going to steal special arts cards, which are the green cards, for 10 time accounts. Outside of that, he has 2 major things that you should know. So he has Gold Frieza's Rising Rush counter. The only difference is it also counters ultimate arts and awakened arts. I said the only difference, but it also returns a bunch of damage if that counter gets activated. So at first glance, you'd think, oh, let me just take out his counter with an ultimate art and then I can rush him later because it's only 1-time use. Well, you can do that if you want to lose all of your health bar. Fair enough, it can't take you out, but it's gonna do a lot of damage. And the other thing is his special beam cannon. He has this thing called an active gauge. It fills over time very slowly, and it's a button similar to the synchro button that we see with fusing Super Vegito and fusing Gogeta Blue. It fills very slowly, but there's another way you can fill it, which is by allowing your allies to get hit. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this also includes the damage he takes. So as you stack up more hits, as in from the enemy, it will help build up your active gauge faster for a special beam cannon that is actually a one-shot. It comes with type neutral, and because it's not an ultimate arts, a blue card, a rising rush, or awakened arts, it can't be cancelled. So the damage is guaranteed to be major, no matter who it is, and as long as they don't have a second life mechanic that isn't endurance. So comeback, indestructible, revival, anybody's endurance will be taken out, and if they don't have endurance, they'll probably die too. Just to add as well, he cancels buffs. This is only once, unlike a lot of other characters, but it's when the enemy activates an ultimate art, awakened art, or rising rush. No blue cards, but he doesn't need to be on the battlefield. He just needs to be alive, which is nice. Now, I'm not going to give Vegito Blue and Margin Vegeta their own segments because they've been in the game long enough so you guys should know, but because Ultra Beast is a new unit, I felt the need to actually emphasize the things that he can do. But in regards to this debate, let's list the contenders clearly. So the oldest unit out of these 3, we have Ultra Margin Vegeta. He's a yellow unit. Key factors: endurance, buff cancellation, the blast counter, and a lock-in ult. Prior to the festival starting, if not still now, he was the best unit in the game. The second unit we've got is Legends Limited Vegito Blue. Main factors: he's green, he has the super cover nullification, which works against the likes of counters, so the likes of Ultra Margin Vegeta's counter, Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta's counter, and any special cover changes in general. Even dodge mechanics like UI, they will just be ignored because they all run through gauges, and Vegito Blue will literally just strike arts and blast arts through all of them. He has no concern for them. He also has a bunch of vanish recovery. And then of course the third contender, the newest contender, the focus of this video, we have Ultra Beast Gohan. Main factors: element yellow, rising rush, ultimate arts, and awakened arts counter, the active gauge which builds off a special beam cannon one shot, and high damage power. For this discussion, there was a lot of ways I could have gone about this, and because of that, I'm gonna separate the video in a way where I give answers based on categories, then I'll also give an answer overall. So at the end of this video, give me your thoughts on who you think is the best given everything I said, and feel free to disagree with me and list your reasons why. So we're gonna start with this category here, which is based on individual value. This one was pretty hard to do, but I'm giving it to Ultra Margin Vegeta. I was originally gonna give it to Ultra Beast Gohan, but I feel like as an individual, Ultra Beast Gohan doesn't work as well as the others will. All of these guys have cover null pretty easily, but when it comes to being the last person alive on your team, there's one thing that will always excel, and that's survivability. Now you might be arguing Beast Gohan's active gauge will take out Ultra Margin Vegeta, and you would be correct to say that, but the issue with it is that it takes too long to fill. If it filled a lot faster, I would argue in favor of Ultra Beast Gohan, because then Ultra Margin Vegeta wouldn't actually be in a position to really just nuke him. But even then, that's debatable. Ultra Margin Vegeta has his lock-in ult, so he doesn't even need to get Beast Gohan to half health before he can hit an ultimate and take him out for good. Something also good to note for this conversation, nobody's type advantage over anybody in this case. So in terms of arguments over each other, it's all at a neutral standpoint. Vegito Blue, the main thing he offers you is long combos, his vanish recovery, and the fact that he's gonna ignore counters. But the only one in this conversation who has a counter, Ultra Margin Vegeta. I guess you could use it for Ultra Beast's Rising Rush counter, but more benefit to Vegito Blue in that argument, he doesn't have an ultimate art, so he doesn't have to worry as much anyways. I feel like all of their damage is in a similar bracket anyways. I will admit that Beast Gohan's damage is higher than the other two's, but his defenses are also slightly worse, even with the consistent type neutral against damage sustained. So I've gone the route in processing it in a way where if you had to put them in a scenario of a 3v1, I think your odds would be the highest with Ultra Margin Vegeta, because he would stifle the enemy in their decision making while also being able to apply a lot of pressure on them offensively. With Vegito Blue and Ultra Beast Gohan, yes, offensively they have the upper hand as well, but on the defensive end they're the liability. So I feel like they don't excel enough on the offensive end to create that gap to put them above him in this conversation. If I had to list all of them in order, I would put Ultra Margin Vegeta first, I would put Ultra Beast Gohan second, and I would put Vegito Blue third. But between Vegito Blue and Ultra Beast Gohan, I think it's closer than you think, because on the defensive end they play a similar role, but on the offensive end, minus the exception of the active gauge, but if the active gauge is up, I would easily put Beast Gohan first. But the developers have intentionally designed it to fill slowly, so even though it can be used infinite times in a game, the odds of you getting it off more than once anyways is damn near zero. Now let's discuss them in terms of team value. This one is actually close, and I could see arguments for all three. But before I give you my answer this time, let me talk about all their pros first. So in regards to Beast Gohan, I feel like he excels more in a team than as an individual, because it gives him more time to build up his active gauge, which is a guaranteed one shot. He also cancels buffs, not just for himself. If he's even off the battlefield, he will cancel buffs one time for the team, and on cover chain switching in, he has the Rising Rush ultimate counter, so for most cases he'll be able to stop those big attacks coming through. He's a very good asset, and he also gets the type neutral damage sustained on the defensive end every time he enters the battlefield, so he's just doing a lot of work for his team even while not being there. His presence is heavily felt even when he's on the sidelines. Also regarding his element, being yellow and all, there's not many major reds. The strongest one right now would probably be the Daima Goku. Not saying he's weak at all, but even with him existing, the type neutral against damage sustained stops all of that, so you gotta give it to him, man. Let's talk about Ultra Margin Vegeta. This guy here has endurance and he has buff cancellation 3 times, but he has to be on the battlefield for it to activate. He has an explosive green, which I didn't mention earlier, but that can be a big help in starting combos, not just for him but for his teammates. His blast counter, even when he's off the battlefield, if he cover chains in, similar to Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, it will activate and then he can get a free blue card. That can be a situation where he can easily win the game. He also has type neutral against damage sustained when his gauge fills, and it's very easy for him to fill his gauge. It simply just charges really fast while he's on the battlefield. But it's to be noted that his counter can only go off 3 times. Did I mention he has a lock-in ult too? Yeah, 3 kills from this guy, pretty easy. So he's applying offensive power. His element also has the pros because he's yellow, not many reds that are dangerous. And his survivability is a big asset to the rest of his team. And we also have Vegito Blue here. Him being green, out of all the people in this conversation, he's the biggest liability. There's not many insane blues, besides maybe Turles and Ultra Super Gogeta, but there are 2 good overpowered purples. Now people might want to say, what's he talking about? And that's only because there's really good yellows, the 2 in this conversation, Ultra Margin Vegeta and Beast Gohan. But if you are green and you come up against the likes of Ultimate Gohan or Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, which might be to your surprise, people are still running them, it's very possible you can get nuked. I would say Vegito Blue, the main thing he offers his team is his buff cancellation, so if he's on the battlefield and he cancels buffs, you can switch out to somebody else who has endurance. But for the team, he doesn't do much more. What he brings to the table is his super cover nullification, where he ignores all of the counters. Because of that ability, he himself is a combo machine. His combo potential is so high, it's insane. Probably the most out of all of the characters choices in this video while not having to worry about anybody stopping him. So he's really autopilot. So for the team, he wants to be the star in a sense. He's not going to be a supporting role. If he's not the star, there's nothing else he can provide. Now for this team argument, I think it should be noted that we know that Beast Gohan does the most damage. So if you think about a team, you're probably going to have a main damager, somebody as a support layer, even though they can also do damage, and maybe a second one of those. If we're going to have a main damager on our team, that would be Beast Gohan. So in terms of team value, you want to do the most damage, Beast Gohan wins in that department. And because Vegito Blue doesn't offer anything major on the defensive end, besides from the buff cancellation, but he also isn't the best in the damage department, he's not going to be the best contender for this category. Now let's go to Ultra Margin Vegeta. I feel like on the defensive end, it's a no-brainer that he is the man. He doesn't need to be the offensive powerhouse that he is, but he also is an offensive powerhouse. He doesn't do the most damage, but it's a large enough amount of damage to be compared to the likes of Beast Gohan and also Vegito Blue. I'd say out of these three, his combo potential is the second highest, or maybe just matching that of Beast Gohan, but he definitely doesn't have the most because that would go to Vegito Blue. So for this argument, especially because Beast Gohan has the rising rush counter / ultimate and awaken counter, he's also more prone to build up his active gauge because he's working with a team, and he also cancels buffs, not just for him, but for his team. He doesn't need to be on the battlefield. This segment is a lot closer than it may seem. So I'm actually going to be giving this segment a tie to Ultra Margin Vegeta and Beast Gohan, especially with them being the same element. It's really down to playstyle here. Now, this is a team category, so we can easily talk about it in a frame where we'd be giving them their best scenario. And I think because of that, the answer is down to your playstyle. Some people would like to play smart, and if you play smart, Beast Gohan is going to give you a one-shot every single time with his active gauge. But with Ultra Margin Vegeta, you don't need to play smart because he does everything for you. However, you still need to be offensively intelligent. You need to time it when you get his ultimate arts so you can lock somebody in regards to how much health the enemy has and who's on the battlefield. Whereas with Beast Gohan's active gauge, it doesn't matter who it is, you're getting sniped. On the defensive end, you could still take out Ultra Margin Vegeta. If you catch him on a cover change, especially with somebody who doesn't cancel buffs on his team, you can easily take him out. Somebody who people are running with him a lot, Ultra Turles. But we could also give him the benefit of the doubt in this segment because we're putting him in his best scenario. So he would probably have somebody else who cancels buffs on his behalf as well. But if we're micromanaging, Beast Gohan doesn't have any survivability, so it's actually likely you could also one-shot him too, but he's not that weak in the first place. So it really depends on what you want to value as an individual. If you're asking me, I'm a high damage power man. I've never liked the long-term type of play that Ultra Margin Vegeta would provide. I think the active gauge is the perfect counter to that, especially when you want to take out someone like Ultra Margin Vegeta. It doesn't give them enough time to react. You switch in Beast Gohan, you press the button, he's dead. So me personally, I would take Ultra Beast Gohan, but if somebody said Ultra Margin Vegeta has more team value, I could also see that. It's really weighing up the offensive power they provide, the defensive power they provide, and how the meta is comprised of the units that exist. So if they can be protected by somebody else, or if they can also do the protecting. And then depending on your viewpoint of PvP, if you're the more aggressive type or if you're the more passive type, you would have your conclusion on what would get you the most wins. But I think both is a valid answer, and because there's not a large gap between these two units, I'm going to give them a tie in the team department. So to conclude, for teams, we've got Ultra Margin Vegeta and Ultra Beast Gohan joint first, and then second, which would really be third, is Vegito Blue. Now for the final segment, you would probably already have your answer, but if I had to give an overall on who's the best, you guys know who I'm picking based on the answers I've gave. The number one unit is going to be Ultra Fusion Zamasu. I'm never going to let that go, sorry. But it's Ultra Margin Vegeta. As an individual unit, he's the safest pick. Even if your teammates are trash, he's going to give you the best odds of winning. But even if you had good teammates, it does benefit Beast Gohan, but those same benefits would also be provided for Ultra Margin Vegeta. It should have been a given that Vegito Blue wasn't going to be the best in any of these segments, but because he's the third best in the game, I had to mention him. He is a very good asset to all teams that he could fit on, but he's not the best at anything he can do. He's just a really good balance between overpowered and very weak. He provides his counter and he has long combos, so he can do a lot of damage. He is very oppressive, don't get it twisted, but in comparison to these two, I don't think it's a conversation he can enter. For the next upcoming weeks, maybe months, Beast Gohan's active gauge is going to be insane, but he's comprised of damage, and that makes me worry. If you don't have him high stars, or you don't buff him in the way that he needs to be, he might not even excel in his damage. But even if Ultra Margin Vegeta doesn't excel in his damage, he's going to provide you something overall. Even as an individual, being able to survive gives you more opportunity to go back out there and actually get priority so you can damage your opponent. So it's just a way safer option to take Ultra Margin Vegeta as the best character in the game. And not just that, Beast Gohan's active gauge, which is something I haven't spoke about the whole video intentionally, can be tapped out of. You can do a quick attack and get out of it before it goes off, because it works similar to Ultra Hit's time skip. You have to stand there and wait for it to go off. It's a very short amount amount of time, you don't have enough time to hit an arts card or something unless they hit the special beam cannon while you already sent out an attack, but that's unlikely to happen anyways. But to be fair, you'd have to not be very smart for your special beam cannon to not land. But yeah, overall I think it's just very clear that it's much safer to play Ultra Margin Vegeta if you have him as well. But with the high damage power Beast Gohan provides, I can see it's very easy to be blinded about how oppressive he is, how dangerous he is, and why you dislike fighting him. I haven't disregarded his defensive traits with his counter against Rising Rushes, Ultimates, and Awakened Arts, but again, the damage it does output isn't able to kill you, and it's only one time. And with these teams, there'll be a lot of endurance units, Ultra Margin Vegeta being one of them, so he might be able to just tank it and heal it off. That's why he's getting the win over Beast Gohan and Vegito Blue. Always gotta provide a longevity segment, and I'm gonna give you the answer straight out. Number 1, I've got Ultra Margin Vegeta. Number 2, I've got Vegito Blue. And number 3, we got Beast Gohan. It should be apparent that Ultra Margin Vegeta is going to age the best because of how his kit is built. The survivability factor means that no matter what, if his damage falls off, you can still use him as a character that's going to keep your team alive and himself. He has easy potential to start combos because of his explosive green, while also being able to snipe people because of his lock-in ult. We've seen the likes of Ultra UI, how valuable people saw him just because he was able to snipe people with that anti-cover change thing when he drags you back in. In regards to Vegito Blue, he cancels buffs himself, but there will always be a new mechanic, a new type of counter, and if Vegito Blue is able to stop that, he's the perfect man for the job at all times. Him having that means that he will always be relevant somewhat. In the same way people saw Strike Assault, but they realized that Strike Assault requires too much work to actually just get it going. It's like it requires a manual startup every single time. But with Vegito Blue, it's straight autopilot. One green card, sometimes it activates by itself, specifically when his gauge fills, and you can just get to going long combos and you're good. But I want to mention that Vegito Blue and Beast Gohan are in a similar conversation. They don't have any survivability regarding endurance, revival, comeback, indestructible. I do understand Beast Gohan has the ultimate and Rise and Rush counter, but again, the counter can't kill you. And because of how Beast Gohan is built, they emphasized his damage so much. So I feel it's very likely that his damage will literally fall off a cliff. We saw what happened to Ultra Hit. His time skip was literally a one shot every single time. But in a lot of cases, since he's come off the boost and time has passed, he simply just cannot keep up with his time skip. If you get him in the right scenario, sure, he's gonna one shot. But you have to work towards it for Ultra Hit nowadays. And that's a lot of effort, especially when he's not nowhere near a big hitter in the game. And eventually, that's just how power creep works. I see that happening to Beast Gohan, so it's not enough to keep him in the highest ranks when it comes to longevity with the way that he's built. That's why I worry for him. But even if Vegito Blue's damage falls off, he has the long combo potential and he ignores counters, so he's still free to do what he wants without worry. So in terms of longevity, Ultra Margin Vegeta for sure number 1, Vegito Blue number 2, and Beast Gohan number 3. That's going to be the end of the video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. I've got a bigger video coming up soon. I don't know when I'll be able to upload it, but it's based on Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, the Ultra. So stay on the lookout for that. But let me know what you thought about my points that I've made in this video. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What segment do you disagree with completely? What segment do you agree with completely? Let me know. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you haven't already, make sure to press that subscribe button. We're on this grind to 200,000 subscribers. I appreciate you guys for watching, man. My name is Zakashi, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one, man.